Okay, if you would, Judy, just drag that up to the corner so it's off the slides. Thank you.
I'm slow.
There you go, thanks. All right, so everyone here is aware, of course, because I think most of you responded to the club survey, and we promised you a readout on what came from the club survey. So let me get my slideshow to behave. There it goes. So it's the 2024 club survey. What does the member survey tell us? It gives us, it told us a lot about how responsive our members are, and I'm going to talk about that in a moment here. It gave us a basic profile of what all of you are doing in ham radio, which helps us as a club to know where we should go and what we should be looking to do. We looked at and asked you how you engage with the club. How do you interact with CMARA, the club? And we got your feedback. We got ideas on presentations. We got a lot of good ideas on presentations. We got a bunch of additional questions, concerns, ideas that we didn't even think of. And we had a number of people ask for assistance with their equipment in one way or another. So level of responsiveness, we had a 65% response. That's double a typical response rate for a survey like this. You do a survey like this, you get 33 to 40% response. You're happy. It's a good survey. We got 60, which means, and this mic is, we're going to fix this before the next meeting. This is a phenomenal response rate. And the survey, as a result, is very representative of the club. So here's what the club membership looks like. This is a map of every town that has membership in it. 1 to 3 members, all the way up to 10 plus members. And I think I mentioned this at the last meeting, but interestingly enough, the geographic center of CMARA is 100 yards north of the 13th hole on the Green Hill Park Golf Course. So there you go. All right. So what kind of license levels does our membership have? We have a strong representation of extra class. We have a couple of advanced people hanging on to that treasured license, general class, technician class. We have a large number of people looking at upgrading. So when we're looking at activities for the club, it helps us to understand what we need to do and where we can benefit the members. What are our members doing? Home operating, POTA, activities like that, or are they sitting in the shack DXing or rag chewing? What I find interesting about this is if you look at people who are active versus people who are interested, there's more interest in away operating overall than there is in home operating. So another thing that informs us about activities we might do as a club. What do our members do? Public service. We got about a third of the club involved in Skywarn, Aries, traffic nets, races, etc. And another third interested in getting involved. Hobby growth, we've got about a third of the club are interested in, about 10% helping with VE sessions, license courses, etc. So that's an area I think with our club looking to grow and build its skills, we could use more help in. Voice versus CW. There, for those who said CW was going to die when the requirement went away, they were wrong. Almost better than half the club is either active or CW. And here's the other modes. And I think the only one that surprised me here is I keep hearing image is dead. Is almost 20% in image modes. Okay.
Would you be able to hold the handheld?
Let me get a handheld.
There was a handheld up there that was working.
Right. Okay, let's see if this mic works a little bit better. So yeah, 25% still involved or interested in the imaging mode. So I found that fascinating that was the case. So club engagement. Why did you join the club? And you can see the strongest one there is to meet fellow hams. And I think that is the strength of this club is we bring people with like interests together. And you're going to see that throughout the survey. Member tenure. This is the only one that caught my attention because I'm a business analyst by profession. So this is a picture you don't want to see. We need to hang on to our members longer because we're losing them in the middle. Doug, did you have a question? Yeah. Less than 5 years, 51%, 15%, 6 to 10 years with the club, 34% more than 10 years with the club. If we had a of club members, those would be in thirds. In a perfect world, they'd be in thirds. So that gap in the middle says we're losing members early. We keep time early. That is officer that why, and we look at that, and we could use your feedback on that. CMARA members do stay informed. Now, it's a little slanted because we approached you to do the survey via email. So, of course, the way you stay informed is via email. But still, if we knock this down 10%, 87% of our members stay regularly informed about what's going on with the club. Again, a number that if I go out to the other amateur radio clubs in the area, they're going to be envious of. Okay. Members who stay informed do so mostly through regular monthly meetings and email, about 43%, another 32% through email and occasional meeting attendance. All right. So Dan's work is important in keeping us informed. All right. People who attend the meetings. Here's the one that's Dan's pie chart right over there. I read the meeting minutes and other club emails, 81%. So we are an email-centric club when it comes to communications, and we need to keep that in mind as we go forward. Meeting attendance, 43% of the club members said they attend regularly, 35% occasionally, and 22% rarely. That's fine. And we talked about meeting duration. I wanted to know because I wanted to know what people thought. Are the meetings running too long? Are they too short? 90+% of the people said what we do is about right. Good news for us. So here's the feedback. Okay, what do people like about the club? 40% of the responses referred to the people in the club being the thing they like most. So we are a very member-centric social club, and that's a good thing. All right, 13% noted the repeater as one of the things they like about the club. And if I dug into the detail a little bit, there are a fair number of members who joined the club for the purpose of supporting the repeater. So that's a good thing. 12% point to the meetings and presentations as the strongest thing they liked. So everyone had a variety of things that drew them to the club, but these are the weights of what was on the top of people's lists. Improvement opportunities. The big one, more events and activities, okay? 26% of the club said they want more events and activities out of this club, okay? Right now, we do a small flea in April. We do field day. We get together at a few different events. We have a Christmas party and a few odd things in between, but they're asking for more, okay? Improve the monthly meetings, okay? And that's one of the things we're trying to do. We're trying to pepper in a few more things into the meetings without making them go longer. And we're going to do some things to get you more content outside the meetings that we'll talk about in a few minutes. So those were the big ones. And then there was a bucket in here I called operational improvements. Do these things better to make the club work better kind of thing. So we'll talk about those. So operating events, fox hunts, POTA, more operating time at field day, club mini contests. I thought that was an interesting one. Youth-oriented events and Elmering events, things to help hams who want to learn more about the hobby. Public awareness events. A couple of them that were brought to my attention is we should help out at the marathon. We show up and help out like Sutton Chain of Lights. Someone brought up Holden Days, which I've never attended, but I hear is an interesting event. And instead of just showing up and helping, which is a good thing, why don't we show up and let them know we're there? Put up a table, a booth. Set up a 2-meter rig and make contacts. You know, set up an HF rig if it'll allow and make contacts. Let them be aware and expose the community around us to ham radio. And of course, club social events. Annual member and family party was brought up. So instead of just the closed club meeting type stuff, have a Christmas party, a Christmas in July or a Christmas time party or something, okay? And we have an opportunity. Another one I'm hoping we get a volunteer or two to help with. The club turns 89 in March. March 13th is our 89th birthday. This year, do a little something. So if we can get a club member or two who will do so much as arrange a place for us to get together for coffee outside of the regular meeting, or get a table or two at a restaurant for us, that would be fantastic. What we'd really like to ask, though, is if people want to have a 90th birthday party for the club, something a little more grand than just get together over coffee. So again, another opportunity for people to step up and volunteer. Improving monthly meetings. I got several responses that said, don't rush, okay? Last month, I out 20 minutes to get through the business portion of the meeting, 25 minutes. And that felt comfortable. People said it was. This month, I didn't try to rush and we got done in 14 minutes. So I don't know how that happened. More live demos. People in the survey are saying they'd like to, rather than just talk about ham radio at a ham radio club meeting, they'd like to see ham radio at a ham radio club meeting. Novel idea. Keep Zoom, but encourage live attendance. There was a strong sentiment about that in several comments on the survey. A lot of people see Zoom as a valuable resource for the club, but they'd rather see, and I don't mean to pick on the people on Zoom, but they'd rather see your smiling faces at the meeting when you can attend. When you can't, Zoom's a great alternative. Member recognition. And this is why I started asking last month, do we have new members? Do we have people who've upgraded their license? We want to make sure that's recognized. Maintain a swap meet table at club meetings. I thought that was an interesting idea. Rather than just have the flea, have a table in the back corner. And if you have gear you want to swap, you want to sell, you want to give away, do that. I know at least 2 club members that are here tonight who received free gear from another member who brought it in and said, who needs a 2-meter rig? Who needs this or that? And they benefited from that. So people are asking, can we do that on an ongoing basis at the meetings? And I think that's a great idea. There were a couple of requests to review the meeting time and place. That's a tough one, but we'll discuss it because some people have asked about it. There's some concern about not the length of the meetings, but when the meetings start, for example, and how late they go. And, are there better locations? Again, that's a tough one, but we'll at least visit that and see if there's anything we can do. And bring back coffee came up, okay? For those of you who remember when Brian was president, coffee was always here until Brian said, I'm sick of doing coffee and no one else wants to help me, so coffee ended. Well, there's a sentiment that people want coffee brought back. So we're going to need a volunteer.
Or 2 or 3.
Or 2 or 3, so that not one person has to do it all the time. Operational improvements, better public awareness of club activities, i.e. things like show up at Holden Days with a table. When we do Chain of Lights in Sutton, be one of the exhibitors there so that people see us there, okay? Better member awareness of ham-related events and opportunities in the area. I think we call that the new club calendar. So we've already addressed that one. Seek opportunities for inter-club activities. A couple of different people, I don't remember how many, but a couple of different people asked, would it be possible to interact with the other clubs, do a joint activity of some kind? We can look into that. I will tell you that we're one of the larger, more active clubs in the area. I know a couple of the clubs are struggling and a couple of the clubs are doing okay. So we'll talk to them. And if there's interest, we can pursue that. Outreach to members who are homebound or in need of assistance is actually a requirement to have someone do that in the club. I didn't know that till I read through the bylaws, and it's in there. We're going to have to step up to that one. More receptiveness to new ideas. I read through a couple of comments, and I think there's an impression, and I joke about this all the time, but I think there's an impression that we're a bunch of crotchety old hams who just like things the way they are. Yeah, and maybe that's just for some of, maybe not. So the point being, be more receptive to new ideas. The old saying, I don't mind change as long as it doesn't affect me. Well, maybe not. And that hospitality committee is just what I was referring to. That's actually a requirement in the club bylaws that I don't think we've fulfilled for a few years now. So I thought that was interesting when I came across that. Proactive Elmering. I don't know who use that term in their survey, but they did. And I love that term, proactive Elmering. Okay. These are two quotes from the survey. Okay. I won't say who said them, but after I got my license, I have no idea how to start. Basically, the 101 for dummies. I had someone help me program a handheld unit, but I've never been on the air. Now, I didn't think that was the case for anybody. I thought everyone who got a license just wanted to dive on the air. Not so. We need to keep that in mind. Okay. I joke about it because when I first started doing things with aviation and I had to get on the radio and contact the tower for the first time, I was more nervous than a schoolgirl in a biker bar. It was awful. Okay. So when I thought about that, I understand it. As a new ham, I was hoping to find an Elmer and meet other hams. There doesn't seem to be any concrete active outreach to help new hams get up to speed. Their statement, and I guess I understand it because I don't ever, we've always been willing. If someone asks for help, I've never seen any of these seasoned hams in this club say no, but we've never gone and said, hi, I know you're new, can I help you? I think we need to look at doing that. Intro level live demos, how do you use a basic radio? How do you make a contact on 2-meter, on HF, et cetera? Stuff we can easily do. License classes. Now that one, I will say, I will blame Judy and I for not being about it. I know Greg's involved too, and we teach license classes all the time. It's the best kept secret there ever was. Okay. We do about 3 classes a year. We'll do a technician class, the general class, then a technician class, then an extra class, and lather, rinse, repeat. So we're doing a technician class every other time because there's more demand for that. Then we do a general and an extra class. They're done on Zoom. They take about, is it 8 sessions, 10 sessions? Okay. And we do them all the time. And we have VE sessions for them. They'll be on the calendar going forward. So we'll know about them. Okay. So presentation ideas. This is people were looking for operating presentations and equipment presentations, how-tos on equipment, how-tos on operating. How do you work DXing, for example? I saw a comment in there about, in other words, again, nervous like the school going in the biker bar thing. How do you get on there and make a DX contact? They don't understand. So they're looking for that. Okay. And I don't have all of the presentation ideas listed here. They've all been passed on to George in the survey results, and people have a lot of good ideas. If you have other ideas that haven't come up in the survey, bring them to us, get them to George. We'll hunt down people to do these presentations, or we'll find members in the club to do them. If you're giving me my choice of a remote Zoom presentation or a live in-house presentation, I'll take the live in-house any day of the week. Okay, member outreach. In the survey, we asked if you had questions, concerns, comments, or if you wanted to get more involved. We also asked if you needed help with any. 14 survey respondents asked for follow-ups. 18 survey respondents asked for some form of technical assistance, either in how-to level assistance, or I need help physically doing this thing, or I don't know how to build this or figure that type of questions. As of now, we have at least made outreach to all of them. We haven't talked to all of them yet because not everybody has responded back to our calls or emails, but we have reached out. So, and this is something we're going to do on an basis. If you need help, let a club officer or a board member know. We'll find someone to help you. Okay. So that effort was, we had 3 or 4 volunteers step up to respond to all of those people. There is a little bit of overlap. I think the total number was just under 30 because the 18 and the 14, some of them fit in both buckets. But we have reached out to everybody who asked. All right. So what are the next steps? We got all this information. We got dozens, I mean, literally dozens of ideas on what we can do. I kind of grouped together and aggregated some of the ideas in what I showed you, but we have dozens of ideas, okay, which is fantastic. Some things are already in motion, okay? The club calendar. We just concluded an interclub operating event. People wanted interclub activities. There was an operating con between Mohawk, CMARA, and Montechusett, okay? So that just took place. License training for all 3 license classes, like I talked about. And we're in the early stages of putting together a technical /filming workshop that will run on a regular basis. So people are asking for questions. They don't know where to get help. We're going to put together, we're still working out what this is going to look like, but it'll be either, once a week, once every other week or something like that, that we'll do a Zoom session where anyone can join, be a topic or a theme for that evening, or it may be a wide open question, ask an Elmer type of session. We're working out what that looks like. And we might also do maybe a once a quarter live get together where we go up and we show people, how do you install a rig in a car? How do you put up a 2-meter antenna? What do you do? So there's a whole bunch of things that we can do around that have to be worked out. But the first one we're going to do is try to put together a regular event. And Greg has offered his services in that area because he does a lot of Elmering and mentoring. So Greg's going to help us out with that. We're also making some the calendar will be brought up at the meeting. I like coming up. We'll try to do some new member recognition. And we're going to try something, and I'm actually going to put Mike on the spot for a few minutes to do a little something. So is there a mic over there for you, or I'll hand you this one either way? Oh, there's 2 mics behind you, but I think the batteries are dead. Let me hand you this one. Mike, take it.
All right. Well, good evening. This is show and tell first. You all had show and tell when you were in school, right? Kids would bring in, show their favorite toy. Well, what is ham radio but a bunch of old men playing with toys? And some beautiful young ladies too. So I brought in a toy that I thought a lot of the older guys might know. And I don't want them to speak up too quick to identify it. I want to see some of the younger folks can figure it out. In fact, it's here in my pocket somewhere. Oh, there it is. This little box contains something that used to make candidate hams quiver, sweat, shake with nerves because they had to face this or they couldn't get a ham license. Inside this box is something that they had to survive listening to and writing down coherently in a building in downtown Boston after riding probably a train or a bus or a car all the way along, terrified as what was going to happen that day because they worked so hard. And it would go into a machine and it would spit out dits and dahs. This is the type of tape that the Federal Communications Commission used to send Morse code. And over here is the complete setup that they used. When you went to take your test, the FCC would take a group of guys in one at a time into an unair conditioned room. You'd sit down and they'd hand out the papers and you would try and copy. And for the first minute, your hand is shaking so bad, you had no idea what was going on. But after a couple more minutes, you might get enough letters in a row to get your ticket. And then after that, they would stop the machine, the motor, turn it off, but they leave the oscillator going and say, come here, sit down. See this paper right here? Start sending. So with a hand shaking like this, you'd sit down at that J38 and pray you could send coherently. And most of the time, people passed. But it was a terrifying experience. It was a rite of passage. And it was a hell of a lot of fun. Thank you. If anybody wants to come and take a look at it, I'll be glad to let them play with it.
Yes. Thank you. So if anyone else has something they want to bring into a meeting, we would love to do a little 2 to 5 minute segment at every meeting. Doesn't have to be something epically historical like that. Could be something, some brand new tech. Could be something vintage, could be anything, but we'd love to do things like that to introduce the membership to different aspects of the hobby, okay? There you go. So if you have an idea for the next meeting, contact Mike. And Mike will let us know and we'll set that up. And then whoever does it next time, you can follow through with the next person. So those are some of the things we're looking at doing with the meeting, just to bring some new things into the meeting. Let me see here. Okay, so what do we want to see done? What do we do with all this great survey information? What do we do with what has to be north of 24 different unique ideas on what the club membership wants? See if my laptop won't even cooperate now. What are you willing to help with? Okay, because this is the crux of it. We've got a small group of officers and board members who are all active doing things. A lot of what you've seen happen came from activities that have been going on for a little while. The membership wants a lot, and that's good, but that means the membership has to help with a lot. So my thinking is we pick 2, maybe 3 of the ideas and see if we can tackle them for this year. If we can get 2 of these ideas up and running with people coordinating them, 3 would be fantastic. If we can do more, that's wonderful. But it takes people willing to step up. It's great to say, who wants to do X, and see 15 hands shoot up. But then when you say, who wants to run that? And then you hear silence. Okay. So if we want an active club, we have to be active club members. Okay. It doesn't take a lot, but does take stepping up. It does take saying, okay, so we want to do POTA. So I'll contact the Chasm and see if we can do a POTA activation there in April. That's all it takes. And then you show up and do it. Okay. If you don't know how to do it, you find out who's going that does. Okay. So that's about all it takes. So that's why there's a couple of things coming up that I asked about help with. I'd love to see us do a March 89th birthday social, but we need a volunteer or 2 to step up and do that, to say, I'll make arrangements. I'll, Joe's Diner and get a table set aside for us, that kind of thing. So we need that. The Club Flea is coming up. It's such a fine-tuned process. It doesn't take much other than a person to say, I'll announce it. I'll make sure it's coordinated. I'll make sure I'll make sure the tables are set up. That's all it takes, but we need a volunteer to do that because it can't land on the officers and board members to do everything, and it shouldn't. So I think that's the gist of the survey and what people are asking for. So I guess my ask of everybody, and I'll speak for the other officers and the board, is if you want all this, what are you willing to do? And what can we do to make it happen? So that's the presentation. There was one question during, but I'm open to questions, ideas, comments, criticisms, critiques, irrelevant comments. I'll take anything other than silence. Any thoughts or ideas? Any initial reactions? This was your survey and you responded. So what do you think of your responses?
Impressive.
Yeah, thanks. All right. So, what's that? Yeah, and it's been recorded. Selena has recorded it. It will be posted somewhere where you can get it. Yep. And just so you know, everyone was allowed to respond anonymously, okay? Only 1/3 of the respondents chose to, which speaks well of the club, okay? There's nothing wrong with responding anonymously. Sometimes people are more comfortable with doing that, especially if they're going to make a criticism or a critique. But Even some of the stronger criticisms or critiques of the club came from people who gave their name. And that's great. That just, again, says there's a lot of integrity to what's going on here. So I did separate all the names from all the responses because the survey came in through a tool that I put out online. So I can see that, but I can also tell you, I didn't look at it much. I looked at it for those 20 some odd or 30 some odd people who wanted a response. And there were one or two comments where I needed clarification and I reached out to someone. There was one comment in here that I didn't highlight and I meant to, so let me see if I can find it real quick. And it talks about the socialization aspect of the club. We have a social half hour or social hour before, and some observation that it's kind of a not overly social thing because we got these tables back here and everybody gathers at the table and sits with the same people they normally do. So they said, hide the chairs during the social hour. I thought that was a great comment. Okay. I mean, it just points to the idea that let's actually get to know each other a little bit rather than hang with the same 2-3 people that we always do. And we've got new members coming in the door. You saw the number of members less than 5 years. So we have new members circulating through. Let's make them feel like they're outside of the experience. Okay. I love that comment. Hide the chairs during the social meeting. So anyway, let's do more of that. Was there a comment back here? Go ahead. Can we get a, do we have another mic handy? Let me see that mic. I just want the people on Zoom to be able to hear. There you go. It's on.
I showed up here, testing 1, 2.
Yep, you're there.
I showed up here last fall, hadn't been here in like 10 years or so. And it was very different. But one of the things I noticed was lack of communication. You had your meeting, you had your demo, whatever it was. Then it was gangbusters, get out the door. Hearing that one comment about Nita Ham 101, I think reflects with that quite a bit, in the fact that you don't have the interaction within the club. It's, you know, it's kind of narrowly focused. You got the pairs to get together. So it seems like if you want to keep new hams, you have to do something to kind of bring them into the fold and do the 101. Anytime you do anything new, that becomes a major problem. You know, how do you get on the air? I mean, that's pretty, you're on the air with 10 million people out there hearing what you say. How do you fly a plane the first time? But I think, you know, just my view of the world and, you know, what I did and what you do is very different. But I think to make an active effect to kind of get the people together to communicate and to work with them. If someone needs help, it's not easy for them to say, I need help. They're going to come in and look to see what's going on. And nothing's going on, so they walk out the door. Okay. That was the feeling I had last fall when I showed up. You know, I was here like 3 times and nobody said boo. There were 2 people that knew me from eons ago, but that was the extent of it. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, appreciate the comment. Greg?
Yeah, kind of along that same line, I think what we might consider, you know, you mentioned hospitality committee, that kind of thing. I think maybe having people who are assigned as greeters at the meeting so that when new people come in, you know, they feel welcome and they are not, you know, sitting in the corner by themselves or whatever, and they maybe feel more part of the group. So that might be something we consider. I know we used to do that years and years ago, but we've kind of gotten away from that. The other thing is when we get a new member, maybe we need a committee of folks who, after the meeting, contact the person, drop them an email or give them a phone call or something and just say, welcome to the CMARA Club. Nice to have
Yep.
you. Is there any way that we can help? Do you need anything? Just that little extra contact outside the meeting,
Yep.
kind of one-on-one, I think may go a long way.
Excellent. I like that. There's some feedback in the room. Is there any comments, feedback, thoughts on Zoom? Any of the people on Zoom have anything they want to add? Yeah, go ahead, Alan.
I thought I'd share the numbers on the experience of the club in Westford. In 2008, we essentially doubled our dues in order to be able to afford the annual premiums for league insurance, which was only $250 at the time, and now it's $200. And I thought this was going to put a real kink in the club's membership. I was the treasurer a couple of years by then, so I had my finger on the raw stats. And it turned out that within 2 years, the club's membership doubled from about 50 to we broke 3 figures. And the reason why was utterly coincidentally, the club president made an extraordinary effort to get dynamite speakers for every meeting. Now, I'm not saying that's not true about CMARA in these latter days. I could name several outstanding speakers in the past season or two, maybe all of them. But that's something that to drive cohesion and new membership accessions paid off for Westford in spades. And it requires doing the homework to get someone to give a talk. Although these latter days, in theory, you can get away with getting members to talk virtually over Zoom. So maybe that lowers the barrier to entry a little bit. So this is a little bit independent of perhaps a little bit independent of the survey results, but I thought I'd share that silver bullet with you guys.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
So,
Anyone else on Zoom have anything they want to add?
Like
I know, Tom, you said we were going to try to focus on 2 or 3 things, perhaps. Do we have an idea of which 2 or 3 things, other than those that are already going, like the calendar and the contacting people, do we have an idea? Are we going to focus on social events? Have we ever considered meeting every month and not taking the summer off? Things like that. We can't do them all, but can we figure out which 2 or 3 we want to do?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I had put some thought into that, but I haven't talked to board and officers, for example, about stack ranking these things and figuring out what we want to tackle. But I think we could also use the club's input. I mean, we're going to post the survey results out for everyone to see. And so you'll see all the ideas that were submitted. You'll see all the comments. And I think some of that, Dan, might come from, we had about 10% of the club that's not currently active say, I'd like to become more active, which again is a good number, because if you do these surveys with clubs, you usually get 2, 3, 5% on a good one. We got 10%. So we have people looking to do things. So I spoke to a number of them, and one of the things I said was, when we present the results, if you see something you want to step up to, let me know, and we'll put that in motion. So I think some of that's going to come, Dan, from what people are willing to do. But I also think if there are things that just rise to the surface, either from the membership's feedback or from what the officers or board think is practical to tackle, we'll have to look at those, but we hadn't made that decision yet. So, Selena?
I have a couple of ideas, like possibly so that we can do more than just three particular things. If we do set up a hospitality committee, okay, we could do more than one thing with the hospitality. I mean, we could do the, say we could do the things with the new members, okay? And we could also do the excuse me, the anniversary party. And we could do possibly in the summer, if we don't want to have meetings, we could have a social event each month, a big social event, like a picnic or something for July, and something else for August or whatever. So the hospitality committee, which would be several people, could split things up and or work together and do things like that. So that's one committee. And then a program committee could be something else, even though maybe the hospitality committee and the program committee could be both working on certain programs, but the program committee could be working on other things like seminars. People had wanted seminars or things like in antennas. You could have a program committee working on getting somebody to give a seminar, excuse me, give a seminar on antennas, or give a seminar on this. You know, getting somebody to do the seminars. So the program committee could be working together to do those different things. So if you have groups of people working together, you could do a lot more.
And you said it again, and someone else said it as well. That requires the people to step up. And I think that's the big ask, okay? Is we need people to step up. We're not looking for people to do any grand amount of work, because to do any one of these things is not a lot of work, okay? But we do need people to do it. Otherwise, it's left to a tiny minority to do all the lift. And then it gets to be a chore, and that's when it all fades away. Doug?
Yeah, I'm probably looking around. He might be newer than me, but otherwise I'm probably one of the newest people here.
Yep.
And, you know, I can agree with a few things that were already said. You know, I came in and I knew Dave Mallett. And, you know, I said, he goes, "Oh, you coming to the meeting?" And that was before I had my license. That was in May of last year. I think I came to the May meeting and I got my license at the end of May. And then I joined the club that meeting. And, you know, but there wasn't a whole lot of outreach. You know, I talked to Dave once in a while by email.
Yep.
Otherwise, I was pretty much, you know, flying by the seat of my pants. I bought a Chinese radio on Amazon and I had it. And someone at my sportsman's club programmed it for me. He said, "Here's all this stuff. You know, you can't talk on the police stuff. You can listen to it. Here's all, you know, a bunch of repeaters." I'm like, "What's a repeater? I don't know."
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
you know, here I am with a radio and working on a license, and, you know, all of a sudden that day rolls around, I have my license. Now what?
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, you talked about proactive Elmering, new hams, intro level live demos. I think I don't know if you
Yeah.
mentioned that. That doesn't sound like my writing. I think I just wrote it down. But, you know, one thing I thought of is, you know, in outreach, you talk about reaching out to, you know, and people mention communicating. And, you know, isn't that what ham is all about, is communicating?
Yep.
So why not use the radio to communicate? And what I thought of, and again, I'm the new guy, so I don't think I'm really the top dog on rolling this out, but I could certainly help and maybe be your guinea pig. But like a newbie net. I mean, we have Georgia's net. A lot of people go on Georgia's net, but it's a lot of the same people.
Yep.
And I know there's probably 30 guys sitting out there or gals with radios listening, wanting to speak, but they don't know what to say or how to, what button to hit.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was thinking there's two parts of that. One is having like in addition to George's, keep that as it is.
Yeah.
Pick another night and have a newbie net or 2 nights and say, okay, drop in for a half hour from, you know, 6:30 to 7 o'clock on, you know, Tuesday, Thursdays. and new people can, you know, make mistakes and you coach them along and help them.
Sure.
Or you even have a place where you can sit down and do it.
Yeah.
And, you know, that would be nice. The other thing I was thinking, you said you don't have meetings in the summer. Well, they have the, what's the hot dog place? Hot Dog Annie's.
Yeah.
You know, you could go on Saturdays and say, let's meet at Moore State Park. Any new people are welcome. Let's bring a radio and walk
some
around.
operating,
You know,
yeah.
you stand over there, hit this button.
Yeah.
Let's talk. This is how you change a station.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and just get a little hands on. And then let's go have a hot dog
Excellent.
after. You know, things like that.
Well, I tell you what, Doug, one of the things I promised people is I would keep the meetings to a reasonable length.
There it goes.
So we've got at least one other person who wants to comment, but you've got some great ideas that I would love to pursue with you. So maybe after the meeting, if you got a few minutes, because I think there's some interesting ideas there. Did you want to say something? I thought I saw, yeah, go ahead.
I'm only 4 years younger than the club. So I've seen a lot of people come and go. And I always wondered, why do we lose some of the players that we've had here? When I first joined the club, Scotty, I think, was the president at that time. We met down in West Boylston at the old Elks Club, I think, somewhere down there. But a lot of people have come and gone, but now we've grown considerably since that time. And then, of course, Zoom pulled away a lot of people because some people don't want to travel now and other people don't want to leave their home. It's comfortable. I can understand that in the winter, but in good weather, there's no excuse to get out of your house. If I'm 85 and I can drive 20 miles to get here, so can you. Now the other thing, a lot of people giving presentations. There are people that are shy, but they have a lot of knowledge, but they don't think their presentation skills are very good. So we don't hear from them. They won't raise their hand. They won't volunteer because they're either shy or they don't like to hear themselves talk, whatever the reason. And that's a shame because some of you folks have got a lot of knowledge. Don't be shy, share it, because you're going to find out that people here are there to help. We enjoy learning something new, and all of you have something to share. Don't be afraid to speak up.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you.
I have a comment.
I'll tell you
if
what,
I
we're going to
can.
take one more comment. Someone raise their hand over here, and then I got to introduce.
Comment on Zoom too.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to limit it to these last two comments because then Jim has something he wants to talk to us about. So, was it, Steve? Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. I know when I got my license in 2019, before we had the pandemic, the only way I got on the air was I didn't even have my call sign yet, but I went to one of the field day events for one of the clubs, and they literally put me on the air. They handed me the microphone, and I'm nervous as anything. And I tell you, it's absolutely important. And then showing people how to program or to program their radios. We got to get them on the air. According to Fred Clemmer, our ARRL New England rep, he says 80% of the people that get their license drop out. That's a startling statistic, and I can see why unless we get them on the air. That's got to be the most critical thing that we can do. Socialization is great. All the other ideas presented were great, but getting them physically on the air, on the microphone is the key. That's my
Right, thank you. And I couldn't agree more. I think you're spot on. And so there's a lot of comments. I kind of quickly glanced past Dan's comment about the meetings, but we're going to explore the meeting schedules and stuff. We'll see what the membership wants. One last comment, and then I got to wrap it up because I promised to keep the meetings to a reasonable length. Go ahead.
We have a club radio. Bring it in and use it.
Yep.
The meeting just starting to roll. Don't cut it short.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you, we do the amateur radio classes, and we were losing, our dropout rate on the classes was pretty high, not shocking high, but higher than we thought. And one of the things we discovered is we would go long on we had great content and we wanted to deliver it. So class was supposed to end at 9 and we were ending at 9:20, 9:25, 9:30. People started dropping. They didn't want it. So when we did the survey, people said about a half an hour business meeting, about a half hour to 45-minute presentation was good, was reasonable. And if we want to do more than that, I think what we do is have, like what Greg's talking about, technical sessions outside of the regular meeting. So for those who don't want to attend them, they don't have to sit here, or they don't have middle of a meeting. And yeah, there's some good comments and I don't want this to end, but I'm gonna wrap it up now. And what I'm gonna do is on a number of these volunteer things, I'm gonna be sending out emails through Dan about some of the things we talked about needing for. I'm hoping we get responses to those emails. I'm going to be touching base with the people who asked to get more involved. They want to step up to reaching out to the whole club. You can do to help move the club forward, to make it more of the club that the survey says you want it to be. Okay. So I hope that this is a good effort for this year. I mean, you know, some people make people happy wherever they go. Some people make people happy whenever they go. I hope I'm the wherever they go person. Okay. I hope so. But, you know, I'm an active person. I dive in headfirst to everything I do and then look where I dived. So this is my attempt at diving in headfirst. Okay. So let's see if we can move things forward for the clubs.